Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back to talk about Dexter Original Sin on Paramount Plus with Showtime. We are halfway through the season, folks. We just saw episode 5. F is for F up. And it could also stand for fallout. The fallout from Dexter's mistake with Mad Dog in the last episode. Now, technically, Mad Dog would have been Dexter's third kill in this origin story, but since technically the car killed Mad Dog, he's still only got a body count of 2, and now he's poisoning himself for a third. Something I talked about last week was the fact that we know Harry ended up taking his own life after Dexter's 4th kill, which should be coming up pretty soon now. And speaking of Harry, last week I said my favorite scene from the season so far was the chase scene with Mad Dog at the end of that episode. However, watching Dexter use those horse tranquilizers on Harry and plastic wrap him down in his own house, in his own kitchen, that takes the absolute cake for me. I did not think for 1 second he was obviously going to kill Harry, obviously, but seeing him plastic wrapped down there and getting a sense for what his son is actually doing, this code that he's created, that felt very compelling. The way he took the knife to cut the plastic and let Harry up when he was done, Dexter is not joking around. Luckily, he got a little bit of inspiration from Tanya in this episode to finally get him dialed in with his killing protocol. He learned about the horse tranquilizers, but first can we just say there's something about Tanya that is not sitting right. Her comment in the last episode about the child-sized body bag, and now watching as they're tranquilizing this poor horse that broke his leg, she seems to get some kind of, satisfaction or dark payoff from these things. It almost looked like she was kind of enjoying watching the horse thing go down on TV. It's hard to tell if this is just a device for getting Dexter to move forward with this new protocol, or if there was something deeper under the surface that's really going on with Tanya, making her out to be a big bad. Again, she is a guest star this season. A lot of times with the Dexter original series, the special guest star was in fact a killer. So, still TBD with Tanya. We've got half the season to go to figure this out. So despite Harry having grounded Dexter, obviously that did not last long, although it did give him enough time to take in some episodes of Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was a quintessential 90s TV show that I most definitely watched. It's about a teenager who essentially can't lose. He always wins, everything goes his way. And while Dexter is not a teenager, and he even mentions this is the first time he's been grounded as an adult, there's a little bit of comparison to Parker Lewis because Dexter's a person who ends up walking through his existence, killing people with the code his dad created for him. Talk about not being able to lose. His own dad is setting up his son to be a serial killer, albeit for, I guess, the right motives. He's trying to instill this code in him to only kill the right people, but still, it's pretty dark. And then grounding him when things don't go his way. The whole concept is just so messed up, but I love watching it. And again, I think Christian Slater as Harry has just been the star of the show this season. Along with that, though, Molly Brown has been fantastic as Deb, capturing her mannerisms, every single thing about her. But Deb doesn't really have a lot going on, so it is nice to see her and Gio finally going somewhere. She refers to him as a good bad boy. Now, could he be somewhat good? Maybe. He brought flowers when Deb was going to visit her late mom at the cemetery, which I thought was very nice. I also think there's something to him and this boat and sailing. And while we're looking at Dexter getting inspiration from Tanya in terms of instilling this tranquilizer protocol, I'm wondering if somehow Gio's dad's boat comes into play and maybe inspires Dexter for that to be the way he ends up disposing of bodies. Given that we still haven't seen the fallout from that arm that came back to the surface after that last alligator body disposal situation. This episode was a little sad too, learning it was the year anniversary of Doris Morgan's death. And for a quick second, when Dexter was visiting her grave at the end, I thought, is there a chance Dexter could have actually killed his mom? We know she had cancer. Could he have assisted her with suicide? I don't know. Maybe we haven't got really the technical scope of the manner in which she died. We can, of course, suspect it was related to the cancer, but I'm also beginning to wonder, could that have been Dexter's first actual kill, an assisted suicide by his mom? The way he was talking to her and she knew there was something wrong with him, urging Harry to get him psychological evaluations. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's possible. That would be a very interesting plot to come up in this origin story because that would be something that I don't think any of us were expecting. And to see Dexter having plastic wrapped Harry down to the counter in his house, I mean, maybe there is something more to be discovered with Doris Morgan. We saw another flashback with her. We know, of course, that Harry and Doris did have a child that drowned in the pool before Dexter and Deb. We learn that she's pregnant again here, which obviously must be pregnant with Deb, because it seems like we are on the cusp of Laura's death, meaning that Harry and Doris will end up taking Dexter in. So the timing is right. She's got Deb growing in her belly. Meanwhile, Harry's out there having an affair with Laura and apparently some other informants in his past as well. So things are really coming to a head for Harry in both timelines of Dexter Original Sin. Another big theme of this episode was the person who ended up killing Mad Dog with their car. LaGuardia's in there when Dexter's fingerprinting him, essentially saying, you know, we have to learn and grow from our mistakes. Our mistakes don't define us. Then we have Dexter regurgitating this to Harry at the end there and basically saying, hey, look, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, Dexter said it himself. He has still got a hunger, and all of the pot brownies in the world did not quench that. As he said, his drug of choice is this new horse tranquilizer, which he will be implementing as part of his killing process. The bonding between Dexter and Deb during that little brownie incident, though, was quite cute, but I keep getting the slightly icky feels. Okay, I get it. I realize that they're siblings, but we know there's a future storyline where Deb is in love with Dexter, and I just get a little uncomfortable when I see any signs of these two teenage siblings being anything more than that. And I'm not saying that happened, but they were sitting so close together. She wants to talk to him more. I mean, this is clearly the seed being planted for Deb's eventual feelings for Dexter. So I don't know. I mean, it's probably a setup for that future storyline, but that is one storyline in the original Dexter that I could have lived without and never needed to see. Just gross overall and so unnecessary, and even more strange given that Michael C. Hall and Jennifer Carpenter, who played Deb in the original Dexter, were at one point married in real life. So there's just something so icky and incestuous, and again, that storyline could have just never been a thing and we would have all been just fine with it. We did not get a lot of forward movement with the judge's son killing situation here, so I am thinking in the next episode they will get back to that. But of course, we did see Harry mess up on the stand, which resulted in Levi getting out, which resulted in him following him to try to kill him, and then Dexter ending up getting Harry and putting him in the plastic wrap instead. It was interesting to see Harry and Spencer having this drink together because, first of all, as I've said, I can't stand Patrick Dempsey's character here, but he says to Harry, just don't let it happen again. And that makes me think, you know what? It's probably going to happen again. But Harry's time should be short on this show. We know he kills himself after Dexter's fourth victim. I would assume in episode 6, probably 6 or 7, we will get Dexter's third official kill because obviously Mad Dog didn't count. He is going to go after Levi. After that, the timeline dictates it should be Juan Rhinus, which is the pimp who ended up killing his prostitute, and then Harry ends up walking in on Dexter dismembering him, and that's pretty much when Harry is like, hey, what did I create? And goes and kills himself, although it is made to seem like it was an accidental death related to his heart condition. So there are 5 episodes left. Like I said before, Christian Slater is named to appear in all of them. So even if he does end up dying in, say, episode 9, I mean, we can still get the flashbacks of Christian Slater in the earlier timeline anyway. But I have to imagine we are going to see Harry dying here. And We're all gonna think it's a suicide. Well, not all of us, but Dexter, Deb, and everybody else are. Us as viewers, we have more information, and we know that obviously Harry cannot live with himself after Dexter's next kill. And things have just escalated so fast this season with Dexter killing. Again, I thought we might take a little bit more time to breathe, to show the way the code was developed, to show more relationships between Dexter and his family. I mean, we've seen a lot of Dexter and Harry, but we are not seeing a lot of Deb. So I'm also thinking, okay, second half of the season should be pretty Deb-centric. Now that she's got the boyfriend Gio, hopefully she is going to have more of a part to play here besides the grieving daughter and the teenager who's not getting enough attention at home. Because seriously, more stuff has to happen with Deb. How did everybody else enjoy this episode? I don't know that it was the strongest of the season, but again, for me, watching Dexter plastic wrapping Harry to his own kitchen counter and showing him the process he goes through, that is step one in Harry's mindset of what on earth did I create here? So not only is the F is for fuck up in relation to Dexter and the mistakes and missteps he made with his Mad Dog killing, but I think a lot of it also has to do with Harry and him thinking, wow, did I mess this up by creating a monster? He's, of course, trying to do the best for this boy who was unfortunately exposed to some pretty tragic circumstances surrounding his mother's death, which Harry played a hand in. So there's a lot of guilt. And I'd imagine the morality of Harry as a whole, back and forth between, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Ultimately, knowing where Harry ends up, the struggle ends up taking him over and he cannot live with himself. But Dexter does what he can to live on with this code that Harry helped him establish. Obviously, in the original Dexter, Harry was a big part of this code. We did see the flashbacks and we did see the large part Harry played in developing this for Dexter. But sorry, Harry, we know you're not long for this world. And that leads me to wonder, does Harry end up getting essentially what he deserves? I mean, the mistakes he made, the path he chose led to all of these things. His involvement with Laura led to the emotional attachment with Dexter that led him to take him home and discover that Dexter does have this dark passenger and how to help him deal with it. I think now that we know the guilt of the son he had and the fact that he drowned in a pool on Harry's watch, the amount of guilt this poor man must feel, and then to be out there cheating on his wife and getting involved and feeling responsible for the death of Dexter, and then finding out his wife is actually pregnant and then they're welcoming another child into the world, that is a lot for a man to deal with. And I've got to say, Christian Slater has played this part perfectly. The casting in general has been the brightest spot of this entire season and origin story for me. Everybody is doing what they are supposed to do. LaGuardia, Angel, Masuka just feels so original Dexter. And I think now that I'm over the fact that somebody else can play Dexter and do it well, again, I haven't been a huge fan of this narration. I think having the Michael C. Hall voice is a little bit of a disconnect between the vibe on the screen and the voice that we're hearing from this more lived-in serial killer, whereas young Dexter is really still finding his footing with everything. So, well, I don't think we need the narration. It has not ruined the show for me or anything. And this last episode, episode 4, really did turn a corner for me. So I am so here for Dexter Original Sin. I would love to know what you think as well. So be sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss the rest of my coverage of this season. Drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Are you satisfied with the way things are going? Do you think that they could be handling things differently? Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 and drop your numerical rating for the season so far down in the comments. I am dying to know. Along with Dexter Original Sin, I am still covering Silo on Apple TV+. We've got a couple episodes left in season 2. I will be covering Severance on Apple TV+ coming up this month. And in February, we've got The White Lotus coming back for a 3rd season. And that's an anthology show that you can start watching with any season. You don't even necessarily have to have watched season 1 and 2 to get into season 3 when it starts in February. So Again, please be sure you are subscribed. I really appreciate everybody watching and tuning in, and I'll be back again next week for more Dexter coverage. Episode 6, The Joy of Killing, airs next week on January 10th. And then note, they do take a week off for January 17th, so episode 7, The Big Bad Body Problem, will air on January 24th. I'm here for all of it, so again, be sure to stop back by and make sure you are subscribed. Thank you again. Really appreciate you watching. Media Melanie, clicking off.